Hello everybody, I'm Rhea, this is Rhea Reads, and today I'm going to be giving some summer book recommendations. It is the middle of July, but we still have a month left of summer, and I definitely want to capitalize off that by giving summer recs. And it is fitting that it is a hot summer day, there's air conditioning in the background, I'm sweating profusely, so we're just going to go with the vibes and embrace all of what summer is about. I have around 10 books here. Most of them are like light, fun summer reads. However, I love reading like a good, sad, introspective, generational story. I typically read a lot of like literary fiction, historical, contemporary, and I save my fantasy and sci-fi for other parts of the year. The first book I have is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, and this is one of my favorite adult romances. And we follow Justin and Emma, and their things, they both date people, and whoever they date goes on to break up with them and then find the person. Justin posts about this in Reddit, and then Emma finds it, and then they talk. If we date each other and then break up, then we will both find the one. And you know where this is going, and it was so good. And I really loved their story individually as characters, and then them together was cute. And I love how it explored Emma and her anxious attachment. And this book is not just a romance, and it is very emotional. It has a lot of family drama and like talking about like the trauma within you. Maybe the romance wasn't just for the summer. The next book I have is One Summer in Savannah, and this is not a light book. It's a very heavy lit book about Sarah and Jacob. Sarah is going back to her hometown with her daughter, and years ago the reason why she left is because somebody essayed her, and she now has to go back, deal with her family. Jacob is the twin brother of the man who assaulted her. Sarah and Jacob both run into each other, and they try to define what their relationship could be like, because she has just dealt with so much trauma. Jacob feels bad for her, and he's going through his own thing with his family and his brother. And I really had a good time with this book because it just delved into such an interesting relationship between two characters. The next book I have is my favorite young adult romance. This is A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Rhea's summer after she graduated high school, and she had this plan for how her life is going to be, but in the span of a month her grandmother died, her boyfriend broke up with her, and her best friend like moved away. She is going through it. So her parents send her to a family who lives in this small town in England, and there she has a friend group, she meets a boy. It's about her coming to terms with her year and her trauma and what she thought life could be, along with falling in love. This is my favorite young adult romance. The movie has been filmed, and I don't even know when it's coming out. And I've talked about this movie not coming out so much that the author herself has reached out to me on Instagram. I don't know what's going on in this movie, but you know who they cast to play? They casted Kit Connor and Maya Fico. Like, oh my god, that's the best casting I've ever seen. And I just love the vibes of this book. They have so much chemistry. I love Orion Maxwell. He is my OG book boyfriend. I really love their relationship and her friendship with all these other people in this town, and it was very cute. The book I have is We Can't Keep Eating Like This by Rachel Lynn Solomon, and this is my favorite Rachel Lynn Solomon book. Quinn is the daughter of wedding planners, and I don't know how to say his name, Tarek is the son of wedding caterers, so they always see each other in like weddings. And last summer Quinn like confessed her feelings to Tarek, but something went wrong, so this summer it's like awkward, but they're seeing each other again. And I just love the setting of the story. I love it when rom-coms take place at weddings. It's such an underrated setting, and I love them together and their development and their chemistry. And this book is so good. It does take place during the summer in a wedding, and the vibes are great. The next book I have is People We Meet on Vacation, which is my favorite romance. All Poppy and Alex, who have been best friends since college, and every year they go on this vacation, and Poppy's a travel vlogger, so they get to go to some really cool places. A couple years ago something happened on one of their vacations, and they're not friends anymore, so this time they decide to go on another vacation together, and Poppy is like determined to fix their friendship, fix whatever is going on. And I love this book so much. I love best friends to lovers. I love any kind of dual timeline situation. We don't know what happened in the past. I love their dynamic, and I love them, and I love the places they go to, and it's such a fun summer read. I read this book in one sitting on the plane. Perfect plane read, perfect beach read. The movie starring Emily Batter and Tom Blythe is going to be out on January 9th, and I am so excited. The next book I have is Lucky List. I read this in May, and I loved it. I have Emily, who's dealing with the grief of her mother who passed away a couple of years ago. She finds this like bucket list that her mom wrote when she was her age, and she decides to do the things on the list to feel closer to her mom. And she enlists the help of like her childhood bestie Blake, and this is so cute. Very summer vibes. They do a lot of like summery things. I think they like hang out on a beach at some point. Like, it's very cool, and it's a very young and free energy. It's a very coming of age. For the rest of this list is my jam. It's my heavy lit fig generational stuff. Sophia, Parable of the Sower. Thank you, Octavia Butler. We all say in unison. Parable of the Sower, I read this last summer, completely changed my life. Parable of the Sower takes place in the late 2020s. You heard that right. This book is written in the 90s and takes place 30 years in the future. You follow Lauren, who lives with their family. They're constantly just like preparing for survival because there's no job security, food security, nothing is secure. Something happens where Lauren has to go off on her own and go somewhere safe in the north. And this book is mainly about them like going from point A to point B. This book is about Lauren coming to terms with this change in her life, and despite this book being like really depressing, my favorite part about this book is how positive and optimistic Lauren is about the world, because she knows that she has to change in order to keep up with the world, and she has this belief called Earthseed where it's about changing with the world. I think this book is so relevant for political reasons. You know, Octavia Butler is a genius, and she predicted so much of what is happening right now 30 years ago, and that's insane. But also just coming to terms with political situations and teaming up with people is very inspirational. The next book I recommend is my favorite book of last year, A Woman Is No Man. And I read this during the summer last year, and this is one of those generational stories where you follow 3 different generations of Palestinian women. We have the main character, Isra. I hope I'm saying that right. And then we follow her daughter in the future, Dea. We also get some chapters with Isra's mother-in-law named Farida. The main plot line is we follow the daughter, Dea, and Isra is currently like missing at this time. We don't know what happened to her. Slowly unravel what happened to Isra and why everything is this way. And it's such a beautiful yet heartbreaking depiction of what the patriarchy and what gender roles do to generations of women who are all opposed to this but all feed into this narrative. I read this in about a day, and I really got invested in these characters and the storyline, and it would change my life. This book really defined what I love about like historical and lit fic. The writing of the book is so good. The final book I have to mention is Homegoing, and this is also one of my favorite books of all time, and I read this a couple summers ago for like a class, and then I like dropped the class a couple days in. But regardless, I was very excited to read this book, and it did not disappoint at all. Initially, we follow these two half-sisters. Sister in Ghana is married to a slave trader, and then her half-sister is one of the slaves that ends up being traded, and these sisters don't really know about each other. But we follow around 8 different generations of these 2 sisters. We go back and forth, and this book is just so amazing, so unbelievably done. I've read it twice, and every time I read it, it's just mind-blowing to me how she's able to portray a story with like 16 different characters, and the editing is very satisfying, and every story, every character feels like there's a purpose, and there's so much history with all these characters. And the horrible thing about this book is that these characters are constantly being taken away from each other, so nobody really knows their history, and there's conversations about that in the book, and it's just so satisfying to read a book and go down like 8 generations and really understand this family. And it's so beautiful to read about because the ending is really very good. And like I said with the previous book, but this is just such a journey. You go into the characters, you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning a changed woman. Those have been my summer book recommendations. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like this video, comment below what your summer book recommendations are. Please subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram, and bye.